says, you will not give the body that don't belong to you to a harlot.
All right. All right.
We've been born.
Amen. Amen.
We've been born.
Amen.
The sins of the world required that somebody die.
All right. Amen.
And without the shedding of blood, there can be
all right.
no remission of sin.
All right.
Some of us will not get the full spectrum of this salvation picture until we are standing before Judge Jesus.
All right. All right.
Because if we got it right now, we would shout all the time.
Amen. Amen.
Because look how good the Lord has been to us. While we were yet sinners,
all right.
Christ died.
All right.
For us.
Amen.
Before we were ever thought on our mama's mind, before we were ever conceived, before we were ever rolling in the cradle, before anyone ever rocked us to sleep, amen, or gave us any lineage, Christ had already died. Yeah. For us, there was a price to be paid. In chapter 7, Paul talks about the principle of marriage simply because there are some folks in the Corinthian church who had questions for Paul.
All right.
They wanted to know about certain things regarding marriage.
All right.
And judging by the divorce that we see now in America, there are a lot of people who still got a lot of questions.
All right. All right.
There are a lot of people who are in the church on their second and third marriage because they did divorce 1 or 2 times.
All right. All right.
I was reading a pastor's manual one day. And there was a question regarding divorce.
All right.
That if I get divorced, can I marry again? Well, Jesus said that if a man put away his wife,
all right, come on,
I wish I had.
All right,
if he put away his wife,
all right,
and then marry another, he has committed. Y'all know that too?
Amen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm telling you what. And then he says, whomever who marries the woman that he put away,
all right,
caused the woman to commit adultery.
All right.
And what Jesus says is that your divorce has sparked adultery not only within you, but in the woman that you divorced. Now that's a pretty clear cut, brothers.
All right.
So I was reading this manual, and what the preacher said is that I tell couples, well, you know, you can marry again, but you should, go to the Lord and acknowledge what you have done.
All right. Amen.
He says, I allowed them to come into the church and I married them.
All right.
So when we look at the divorce rate and the people who get divorced, the believers who get divorced,
all right,
it seems like we all have a lot of questions when it comes to marriage.
Amen. All right.
And so the church at Corinth had questions that they wanted to ask Paul. According to some commentators, these were the issues they were dealing with. One was, some believe that Christians should always marry.
All right.
The second was, some believe that if you were celibate, I need to say two words because these things don't go together in 2010. If you was unmarried and celibate,
all right,
then you were better than Christians who got married.
All right.
The third thing they dealt with, or they had questions about, is that if two people are hooked up, married, and one of them gets saved, and the other one stays a sinner, then the Christian was supposed to divorce the sinner.
All right.
Come on. These were the three issues that some commentator says that the people at the church of Corinth were dealing with, and this is what they sent the letter to Paul regarding, because they wanted some instruction, unlike the folks of 2010.
All right.
Because the folks of 2010 don't want to be told nothing.
All right.
And so Paul says in verse number 1, now concerning the things about which he wrote unto me. Yeah.
All right.
For the person who is unmarried and celibate, it's good for a man.
All right.
Y'all not reading with me this time? Y'all gonna actually let me do this by myself? Most of y'all start reading right behind. It's good for a man not to touch a woman.
All right.
And he's referring to sexual intimacy.
All right.
Which people say don't talk about sex in church.
Talk about it.
Right? Y'all ain't got to say amen. When he says it's good for a man, now that's what he's referring to.
All right.
Sexually. Are you listening to me?
Amen.
But then he goes on to explain, because remember now, those who are unmarried and celibate think that they are more special than those who are married.
All right.
He says, nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. And what he's suggesting in verse number 2 is that if you cannot be celibate.
All right.
Everybody know what celibate is?
Amen.
All right. Well, I thought I was talking above somebody's head. If you cannot be celibate,
all right,
then you ought to marry.
Amen.
In other words, you know how. If you want to do the thing,
all right,
you need to get hooked up.
All right. Amen.
Now the reason he refers to her own husband or her own wife is because in verse number 3 he says, let the husband render to the wife her due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto her husband. And what he is suggesting is that the husband render unto the wife sexual intimacy.
All right.
And the wife renders unto the husband sexual intimacy.
All right.
Y'all understand that? What Paul suggests is that you owe it to one another.
All right.
I better quit now. You owe it to one another to have sexual intimacy